Untamed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Platform.
iOS, It's Only Sport. That's the name of the show. That's the name of this podcast. It's Only Sport. It's Only Sport. Martin, Devlin, Lachlan, War. We do a show 1 till 4 on the platform every weekday, and this is the highlights podcast package of wrapping up the weekend sport. A couple of major stories as far as Kiwi fans are concerned. The All Blacks, just magnificent. 3 in a row. What have we got to moan about? Surely we should all be happy after the first 3 tests of the year. Football Ferns, disappointing and frustrating not being able to find the back of the onion. But that's just a malaise that all New Zealand representative football sides have had forever, trying to actually get somebody that can actually score goals. Brendan Bradford will join us as we talk about Wally Lewis and the sad news out of Australia that the King has CTE. We've got motorsport. We're going to be positive. Let's rip into the sport. As we always do, I say tablets in hand, gather my flock. It's time for a sermon. Yeah. We only needed 1 goal. Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Just not good enough. The Football Ferns came up short last night and are out of the World Cup after such a promising start to the tournament. And that, for me, is the real bummer. Beating Norway, creating history, was a fantastic way to kick it off. But we needed to carry it on and didn't. And couldn't. Should have gotten out of the group stage after that result. Prime position to make the knockout stage and recreate more history. Couldn't. Essentially because we can't score goals. It is a malaise that is affecting and has affected for decades every New Zealand football side, every age group side that we've ever put out on the pitch. The inability to score goals. Last night versus Switzerland, we huffed, we puffed, we hoofed it forward a lot into their penalty area. And that was about it. We didn't create anything really. And of course, there's the mainstream media narrative. Oh, what a success story it's been and how proud we should be and what an amazing journey and wow, they did so well and everything. And that's just goddamn patronising. The Ferns were in a position where we should have got through to the knockout stage. But you know how the media goes in this country. You can't criticise a woman athlete or a women's sports team. Not at all. The coverage has all got to be so overwhelmingly positive. But the truth is stark, it is real, it is so clear, it is so obvious. Our defence was great. 1 goal conceded in 3 games. We competed well physically, we were determined, we had a great work ethic, we ran hard. We did all that you could ask for in terms of commitment to the cause. But we couldn't score and we never looked like scoring. And that's been the tale of the tape all season long. We've played almost a dozen games this year and scored just 3 goals. 2 versus Vietnam in the final World Cup warm-up friendly game and then the one against Norway. And since that move against Norway, sweeping move, yeah, we've had a couple of posts. We've had a goal disallowed for the shirt sleeve offside. We've had a penalty. But nothing consistent in front of goal. Coach Yitka has stayed very loyal to a large group of fossil players who for years have proven that they lack the cutting edge to break teams down. You had Millie Clegg sitting there on the bench, a young woman, fresh legs, goal scorer, yet she never got a minute of game time in any of these games. Football's a very simple sport. You don't concede and you won't lose. But you've got to score if you want to win, and that's something we haven't been able to do in this tournament and in almost every other game we played this year. Huffed and puffed, but in front of goal, not good enough.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The Platform.
I'll start off with some women's football, considering that has been the most noteworthy sport in this country over the last maybe month or so. 2 weeks really, that's when it kicked off. A few games going on yesterday and last night. Of course, the Football Ferns drawing 0-0 with Switzerland. That was on at the same time as Norway beating the Philippines. Not really beating, thumping 6-0. New Zealand, of course, not going through to the knockout stage. Switzerland and Norway do. In the later game last night, Colombia stunned Germany with a 2-1 victory. And what does that mean for their pool? Well, Colombia now on top with 2 wins from 2. Germany, 1 win, 1 loss from their 2 games. Morocco is sitting 3rd with a win and a loss. South Korea dead last in that group. Well, they did, they didn't lose, they drew, but it felt like a loss because the Football Ferns aren't in the World Cup anymore. They've been knocked out.
Felt like a loss, mate.
But Yitka Klimkova, the coach of the Football Ferns, is still proud of the team and says there's a platform to build off. And actually, she's probably, if you'd asked anyone before the tournament, 4 points, a win and a draw from 3 matches.
Would have taken it.
I would have taken it.
Absolutely. With no lead-up form, couldn't score a goal. Okay, Yitka, but now you've got to get hard and get rid of those that have got their 100-and-something
deadwood.
caps. That's it. Get rid of them and start the team afresh.
This is what Jukka Klimkova said last night. I'm very proud of our team and what we've done during this World Cup. When I saw the fans around the sold-out stadiums and the connection that we had with New Zealand, that's what we were aiming for. That's what we wanted. I'd like to think you would have aimed to get out of the group phase, but no, that's good. That's good as well. All right, Silver Ferns star shooter Grayson Weke will miss their Netball World Cup clash against Wales. That'll be tonight. I think it's on tonight, that one. But only as a precaution. And Weke limped off with an apparent knee injury in the third quarter of the Silver Ferns' 80-19 win over Singapore. This Netball World Cup, they get through the games nice and quick, don't they? Kiwi pole vault star Eliza McCartney has ramped up preparations for the World Athletics Championships with a 4-year best clearance. She won in Luxembourg, soaring to a height of 4.85 metres, the joint third best of her career to win the meet by over half a metre.
Fantastic. And look, Tom Walsh is coming into his best form too. We spoke to last week. Great news, mate. Great.
Fair bit of motorsport on late yesterday and overnight. Shane Van Gisbergen back in the Supercars winner's circle. He won the final race at the Sydney Motorsport Park. For the Supercars and nuts who've been following the sport for a long time, that is what was once known as Eastern Creek, the Sydney Motorsport Park.
Right. I was trying to. I thought that it looks a familiar track. I thought, and then okay, right. There you go.
Very tight. Now he's up to third in the standings, I believe. There's only something like 67 points between first and fourth in the standings. So it was something along those lines. Very, very tight. Formula One, Max Verstappen won again. Red Bull won again. 12 wins out of 12 to start the season for Red Bull. Verstappen's won 8 in a row. The race overnight in Belgium at the famous Spa circuit. His points lead is ridiculous. It is 125 points over teammate Sergio Perez, who himself has a 40-point lead over Fernando Alonso, who was third in the championship. Ashes cricket, the final test on at the Oval at Stumps, Australia. Well, England were looking in control of the match, if I'm not mistaken, Martin. I didn't watch any of the Ashes over the weekend. You probably did. But Australia 135 without loss at Stumps after 4 days. They need to get to 384 to win, so 249 runs in 98 overs. Very much gettable considering they haven't lost any wickets yet. Kiwi powerlifter Hiniwai Hausman has been banned for a further 7 years from all sport after failing another anti-doping test. She was serving a 4-year ban handed down by the Sports Tribunal of New Zealand for testing positive for clenbuterol. Is that how you pronounce it? Clenbuterol. That was back in 2019. And just finally, some pretty sad news out of Australia involving one of rugby league's greatest players. Wally Lewis has revealed he has a neurodegenerative condition linked with dementia. He's 63 years of age. He revealed in an interview with Australia's 60 Minutes that he's been diagnosed with probable CTE. Very sad news. That's what's making news, Martin.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
81 tests for the All Blacks. He calls it for Sky Sport. He'll be representing Super Sport at the Rugby World Cup. 3 wins on the bounce for the All Blacks. Impressive stats, impressive performances. Justin Marshall with his thoughts. Justin, what can we moan about with this All Black side? I just went through the scores before. I think we're conceding about 17 or 18 a game, scoring 38 or something. We've just belted Argentina, South Africa and Australia. Is there anything we can moan about?
I think momentum's good at this point, and that's great. And it's really pleasing to see the team starting to click and gel. I think when we spoke last week, prior to the team coming out, I said to you, I really hope that they will retain the team that beat South Africa and get the combinations working and clicking. And, if they need to add impact, they bring that impact off the bench in our own sort of bomb squad type style. And that's very much what happened. The same team pretty much apart from Sam Cane was retained, wasn't it? And players that came off the bench added impact. And, the momentum that they've got, the way that they're playing, the speed, the tempo, the physicality. No, I don't think at the moment we can moan. Albeit, I still do feel that, the sides that we've got to test ourselves against and are the benchmark at the moment are for sure France and Ireland.
Are the All Blacks getting better? Are you seeing progress through those 3 matches?
Yeah, they're playing a better style, which is good to see. I noticed that they're bouncing back to the blind side quite a lot, where they're leaving players that have been at the previous ruck and they're hitting the blind side and they're not enabling the defence to work out exactly where they're going to go, whether they're going to go open or blind. So that's creating good momentum for them, and equally it's also showing that they've slightly changed the way that they're playing. And, I certainly feel that they are, game plan-wise, a significantly different team than what they were last year.
Justin Marshall with us on the platform. Is that the best defensive effort you've seen since when? Because the Wallabies had plenty of ball there. It reminded me a bit of, there was about a 10-minute period in the final in 2019, and I know you can remember when South Africa just held England out and they just couldn't get over the try line. It kind of breaks your spirit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I guess it's a really valid question, because you look at the game and you see them, basically running in some sensational tries and the attack looks good. But ultimately, unless your defence is good and you're conceding points as well, then the game very much can sway and change. But at the moment, the defence is rock solid. South Africa took a long time a couple of weeks ago to break through and break the All Blacks down. Yes, they scored 2 tries, but ultimately, when the crunch time came and they got inside the 22 for the vast majority of the game, the All Blacks, like they did against the Wallabies at the weekend, defensively were very good. Their scramble's great, but what's really noticeable is the physicality they're bringing to their tackles. They're actually just going in with real intent, and that's good because it really compromises ball carriers when they get hit hard.
Justin, Eddie Jones said that this afterwards. It's about 10 seconds long. Have a listen.
What I liked about the team tonight was the way tactically they took on New Zealand in the first 20 minutes. And, if you arrive from Mars and you watch the first 20 minutes, you'd probably think the gold team was the stronger team.
It says a lot to me in that quote. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to deflect. He's trying to divert, all of that kind of stuff. There is no way in hell any All Black performance could ever be reviewed like that. Like, oh, God, good. We played well for 20 minutes. There's another 60 to go. What does it say to you? Does it say about their fitness? Why that 60-minute dominance from the All Blacks from that point?
I just think they're scrambling. They're scrambling for ideas on how to break down good defensive systems. They're kind of relying on individuals to spark. They're trying to look for a sensational play out of nowhere, because their game plan at the moment is really easily picked off and worked out defensively. I don't know if I agree that they were the better side in the first 20 minutes. I think they had a couple of moments there where they looked good and they had the All Blacks under pressure, but then they made some poor decisions in that 20 minutes as well, when I think Gregory kicked the ball away. I think Carter Gordon kicked it away a few times when he shouldn't have, and it really hurt them. So, they are a team that really is struggling for their identity, and they are in a world of hurt at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see how they recover from where they are at the moment to try and be competitive at the World Cup.
Let alone this coming weekend in Dunedin, and I want to ask you about that, but I'm just going to park on that for a second. A couple of things here, which is why you provide just a degree of being able to look at it that the rest of us can't, which is what I want from you. The speed of our ruck ball and the general impression made around turnovers, the contrast with not having Sam Cane there. What did you see by not having him there?
Oh, I certainly felt that the other players, when they had their opportunity, stepped up and got over the ball. Cody Taylor is very good at getting over the ball, so his work at the breakdown was excellent. I certainly thought that Papali'i worked hard all day. Frizzell brought the physicality, and you know that Artie's going to get the odd turnover or two. He's going to contest the ruck. Sam Cane brings that physicality. The way that he's been tackling lately has been very, very impressive. So you do lose a little bit of that in your defence. But in terms of the ball carry, he doesn't tend to carry as much, probably as Papali'i even. So, look, certainly at the moment, you'd have to say that he still slots into that back row. And there's a better open side. But I thought the team really adjusted to not having him there really well, particularly in defence. But
you can notice, what I was trying to get at is you can notice the difference he makes when he comes back, though, can't you?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and I think the fact that a player that is the captain can slot into the team, captain the side, but yet fulfil his role is a really important cog. And he certainly doesn't seem to be affected by that. In fact, I think he actually is a better player for being All Black captain. So yeah, I certainly feel that you do notice when he is missing, and that's a good thing to have, and it's a good headache to have when he's not there, to know that when he slots back in, the team will be even better.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. I am the Minister of Common Sense.
We need to talk.
You can talk as much as you want to talk and tell me that
You tell it.
Praise be where praise due. Ian Foster. Now, I know a lot of people are going to turn around and look and they're going to say, he brought in this coach and he brought in that coach. Well, if he did, good.
Well, so what?
Well, because that's what Steve Hansen did. Steve Hansen, that's what Ted
Graham
did.
Henry did.
That's what Alex
They all
Ferguson
did.
did. That's what you do when you're the coach. It's not, look, the coach these days isn't a guy in track pants putting the cones out on the pitch. That's not what he does. He's in charge of the management team. Does Ian Foster deserve a fair slice of credit for this All Black side playing as well as it is right now?
Well, yes, he does. He deserves a lot of credit for actually sticking to the same blimmin' 15 because he couldn't do that last year, respectfully. But can we, maybe going off task from your question here, pump the brakes a little bit? Because last year, yes, we lost that series to Ireland, which was terrible. We lost to the Springboks, which felt like an all-time low. But then we beat them a week later at Ellis Park. Yeah, we lost to Argentina.
Yeah, but you weren't even convinced about that. You keep saying it wasn't that great a victory.
No, it was a good win. Okay, that's a fair point. But then we lose to Argentina, then we smack them in Hamilton. We should have lost to the Wallabies in Melbourne, but then we smacked them in Auckland. And then we went on a winning run, and then we finished off with a draw. Yes, we're playing really well at the moment. Yes, we're winning. But we also beat these teams last year, and a couple of those wins were by very big margins. So credit to Ian Foster, credit to the players, but don't get too overexcited.
Are you happy with what you're seeing?
Yes, but I'm also a bit of a pessimist. None of it matters unless we win the World Cup.
No, what do you mean none of it matters? Some of it matters.
Well, the Bledisloe Cup matters.
How would you be feeling if we'd lost one of these 3 games then? You'd be kicking Ian Foster all over the park again, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't. I wasn't kicking him over the park.
You were saying that Rangers should come in straight away, but I was the only person in the world standing up for the guy.
All right.
We are All Black fans, which means we are miserable.
Yes.
So give me a whole lot of stuff that's going wrong with the All Blacks.
Didn't beat the Wallabies by more.
Yeah.
Conceded 20 points against the Springboks.
Yes.
Many of those in the second half.
Yes. Lost the second half to Argentina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of these teams are probably going to face us in the final of the World Cup if we get there.
See, we're struggling, aren't we, eh? Can't we just sit here after a win like that, look back at those 3 games, ladies and gentlemen, and say, wow, congratulations, All Blacks, playing pretty damn good at the moment. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
To be fair,
playing pretty good.
I was very excited and very pleased with the win over the Springboks. I mean, I was thinking about this yesterday, that I just don't get excited by tests against the Wallabies anymore. Because when we play them, if we play really well, we beat them by about 30 or 40 points. And if we don't play well, we still beat them by at least 2 tries.
Yeah, okay. Let's go back to Eddie Jones then. Eddie Jones talking about the Wallabies' performance. The fact of the matter is they look beaten up. After 20 minutes, they ran out of gas. Their guys, I don't know whether they're as fit as us. I mean, they look gym fit, but are they rugby fit? Yeah, they all get injured, fall over. They've got nobody to bring off the bench. And this is a team that'll probably make it through to the semi-finals, ladies and gentlemen. That's a poor Wallaby side, isn't it? And we've seen poor Wallaby sides over the years. That's a poor Wallaby side.
Yeah, but it's also the same virtually the same Wallaby side that nearly beat us in Melbourne last year. It's the same Wallaby side that nearly beat Ireland on the interview tour and also nearly beat, France. Was it France?
France, yeah.
It's a team that all you need really is 23 players. And they've got 23 good players. So it's all about just timing your run for the World Cup.
Okay, final question for you then.
Next!
What was your moment of the match? Was it Scott Barrett smacking the halfback, or was it Scott Barrett telling the other halfback to shut up, mate?
I think the tackle. I mean, out of those two, definitely the tackle. I loved the bit where there was 2 bits actually from Mark Talia. There was where he went into about a 3-man tackle and just bumped them all off at once and then ran through the line. And then the other bit was where he got the ball out wide and it was a real jammy play. The ball's rolling on the ground, picks it up, where he gets past the ball, and then he has this little stutter step. It just goes right around Corey and Betty, who falls over. That was my favourite moment.
And handed it to Rico.
Yeah.
1:35 time, 5050 on the text, ladies and gentlemen. Moan. I'm moaning sick all the time. I got a big moan. What might have been department, bloody England, bloody Bearsball, bloody Azure, bloody should have been, bloody could have, bloody didn't, bloody rain in Manchester, bloody damn, bloody series, bloody England, bloody shouldn't, bloody couldn't, bloody... You know, they were down 2-0. They were down 2-0. It would have been the greatest ever Ashes comeback of all time, and all we're talking about now is we're talking about Aussie, and Aussie going to win it, and the Aussies going to sneak away with the trophy, and they'll probably win this last test. And oh God, if it wasn't for raining in Manchester, it wasn't for stupid Baz ball and 393 for 8 in the first inning, the first test, and 188 for 1, and all you had to do was hit 2s and 3s, and all you had to do was ban the bat ball. And now we've got England, and now Stuart Broad's retiring. England, the whole bloody things. It's the bloody. this is just Ashes series. I mean, and now Australia going to win. They're going to go home again, and the solar panel Pat's going to sit there and he's going to ram climate change down our throat. But all we had to do was just win this series. When I say we, it was England. The bloody would have been fantastic, and now they're going to 135 and none of us are going to win. Just you sit there and you watch this Ashes, and it could have been the greatest ever comeback that we'd seen. And now it's just a big Aussie winning. What might have been.
Devlin.
I'm as bad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
The platform.
The Football Ferns. Well, how are you meant to feel about that? Are you meant to feel overwhelming pride, or are you meant to feel frustrated at the fact that once again we can't score a goal? And that's what it came down to in the end. Sure, we only conceded 1 in 3 games, but we only scored 1, and that was in the very first game. The former All-White, he's worked for FIFA, he's worked for Oceania. He's an expert voice on this, Fred de Jong. And in the end, mate, it was the same old, wasn't it? We just couldn't score a goddamn goal.
Pretty much in the final analysis, defended pretty well and held the number 20 team in the world goalless, but at the other end of the field, just toothless. And I think we're playing up against a Switzerland team that, played within themselves, knew a draw wasn't always going to be enough, and so, and that's how the game panned out.
Look, I mean, I don't know how we're meant to feel. I mean, we're told by the mainstream media, of course, that, we should be overwhelmingly proud and it's been a raging success and all of that kind of stuff. I feel a little flat and disappointed only because once we got that first win against Norway, it was in our hands then to progress, and I feel like we've missed such a great opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. But I think if you'd said at the start of the tournament, I think everyone was predicting it was always going to come down to the Switzerland game. It was just that the first 2 games were in reverse order, in that we thought we were going to struggle against Norway, and we thought we were going to do well against the Philippines, and so it was flipped around. But ultimately, it was always going to come down to this game, and we were probably going to have to win the game, depending on how our goals stacked up, and given the history of this team going into the finals, it was always odds on we were going to have to win the game, and and I think so that's how it pretty much panned out. I think leading into the tournament, the team hadn't shown enough to get everyone excited, and then the Norway game and the performance against Norway flipped the script completely. And I think you're right. I think the ultimately, when you look back at this campaign, that game against the Philippines was the killer blow. Needed to get at least a point out of that, and failed to do so.
Yeah, you said at the very start, that rankings outside the top 10, it's very difficult to know exactly, whether a team like Norway 12th, what that actually means. I mean, is the Norway team that we saw against the Philippines last night the real Norway, or the team that played us?
No, I think the team that against the Philippines last night is more what they're about. I think they came into this competition, with some issues and internal issues, and they were flat on the first night. And I think we've seen a few teams like that, sort of high-ranked teams. England were flat. USA didn't really show what they're capable of. And Australia the same. Canada definitely. So some of the bigger countries it's been a slow start to the tournament for them. And I think Norway, you can put Norway in that boat. And we hit them, and we played really well. We were really up for the game, and we failed to do that in the last 2 games. And I think, and that's I think, if you talk about disappointment, that's the disappointment, that when it really came down to it, we couldn't work out a way to score a goal.
Fred de Jong is with us, former All-White, and worked with FIFA, worked with Oceania. You talked about Yitka for a long time, a 6-year deal, and going back to the same players. I mean, what disappointed me last night was that Millie Clegg is sitting there. You've got to, what did Alex Ferguson say? A young player changes everything. You've got the talent, you've got the ability. Here's your chance to shine on the world stage. Why wouldn't you actually give that young woman a go?
For me, that was, if you're talking about disappointment, that was the most disappointing moment in the entire campaign and over the 3 games. I thought, when we saw Betsy Hassett on the sideline, ready to come on. It was like, how is that possible? You desperately need a goal, and you have a young goal scorer on the bench, and you turn to a midfielder whose goal scoring record is at international level is poor. And I couldn't fathom that one. I really couldn't. I thought, of all the times where you need to just charge your arm and do something different and really show that you want to win the game, that was an opportunity to put on a person who's probably going to be in the Ferns for a long, long time if she keeps scoring at the rate she scores at. But that was just crying out for someone like Millie Clegg. And if she, if Millie had come on and hadn't done anything, it was no worse than what we saw.
Well, that was it, yeah. That's the problem, isn't it? I mean, it just, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, as you say, it's like when they threw Marcus Rashford on for the first time, and you're going, holy moly, here he goes. I think he scored a double, and, it was like, wow, this guy's a revelation. It could have been a moment like that. And, instead we got BTS. And it's the same with, you're going to the tried and true, well, not even the true. I see, for me, this is the thing now with this team. I think there'll be a massive of retirements, Erin Naylor, Ali Riley, Betsy Hassett, Hannah Wilkinson, all these players should be moved on or retire. And then we should see this complete refresh of the side. And also we should be looking at players who technically are better, because you can see now on your doorstep, you can see the teams, the better ranked teams in the world technically are much, much better than we are, and they pass the ball much, much better. Even last night, Switzerland, 20th in the world, they pass the ball better than we do. And I think historically we've chosen very good athletes, and so physically we can match anyone, but technically we can't. And I think that if this team is to grow and do better and get their ranking up, then I think we have to look at more technical players as opposed to more athletic players.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. The cultural abuse, ladies and gentlemen, the insults. People in New Zealand taking liberties with other nations' culture and heritage. We saw it with the Spanish women's football team, didn't we? They came to New Zealand. They had a kick around practice, and some of the players were filmed either doing a haka or part of one, having some fun. They were. Harmless fun is what they thought it was, with something that's unfamiliar, but that looked fascinating, that looked interesting to them, somebody else's culture, and they were accused of denigrating Māori culture. And the news organisations took a huge big stick to it, and the Spanish women were made to publicly apologise, and a massive big fuss was made, and ambassadors were involved, and there was compensation demanded and wanted, and offence was taken. Well, last night I saw in Dunedin, people, I saw fans dressed up like Swiss cheese, is what I saw. Ordinary people dressed up in red capes with a white cross like the Swiss flag on the front of it. Mocking the Swiss culture, I saw. Not having harmless fun, not just basically getting dressed up and having a laugh. These people were using cringeworthy stereotypes to make fun of the Swiss people is what they were doing, Lachlan. How dare they? Ordinary New Zealanders dressing up and having fun. A full public apology is needed. A front page media witch hunt with the same level of publicity that was given to the Spanish Inquisition. Good God. Honestly, if you think that the Spanish women should have had to apologise, then you must also demand those fans last night dressed up as cheeses get exactly the same treatment.
Devlin.
That is a disgusting act.
The platform.
Minister of Common said...
Next!
Sentence peg! It's embarrassing. As a New Zealander, I'm embarrassed. I would like to publicly apologise to the Spanish team for the humiliation of that media-driven load of absolute bollocks. LBP with TMG. That's Let's Be Positive with Twisel's Matt Gunn. Of course he's going to be positive. His doggies won on the weekend. That's right. The Ashes, maybe they could. What about the Matildas? Let's be positive. Let's be positive, Matt. We've got so much to be positive about. We've got the Ashes, we've got the Doggies, we've got the Wallabies, we've got the Matildas. Where do you want to start?
Oh, let's start with the Doggies. A brilliant before half-time drop goal gets us home by the single point. We didn't even need extra time. And you very rarely see that, Martin. I thought to myself, oh, this is a strange play, but it turned out to be the perfect play. So I couldn't be happier after yesterday. It was just a brilliant win. And that really, with a bye this weekend, that secures us off the bottom of the table, even leaping the St George Dragons.
So there's no wooden spoon. That's it. Yeah, that's it. So now those two losers, you can look down your nose now. It's like the rest of the country staring at Palmerston North and going, that's right, doesn't matter where we live. You're more boring than us. That's official now, right?
Well, I mean, you come from Spain for the World Cup and they throw you in Palmy North. I mean, what more needs to be said? I mean, we've all been through there, and through there we've gone.
Yes.
I mean, why would you want to stay there? And I say good on them. You very rarely see this, that someone would just up and leave from their host town. But too bored. The kids aren't loving it. Nothing to do through the week. They said, we're out of here.
They're gone. The thing I like about this more than anything, though, mate, is I love the fact that the mayor comes out, the MP comes out. Oh, I've had a few big nights in Palmy North. He says, you're not selling it, mate. We got the biggest model train railway in the world. Well, that's great for pedos. I mean, I don't know, mate. I mean, you're not selling me anything here.
Oh, what a slap in the face, eh? What a slap in the face. But you know what, Martin? I must say, before we move on to the other things you brought up, I have really enjoyed this Football World Cup, and disappointing last night for the Football Ferns. I just would have loved to have seen them get a goal, but I have just been astounded with the interest, not only with the sellout stadiums, which is just fantastic, but just talking to people that I know personally that just would never get involved in watching football and the Football Ferns and women's football. People have loved it, and the reports coming out of the games, the atmosphere at the games, even not involving the Ferns, it's been quite an eye-opener. And who wouldn't want the numbers that they've got? Look, it's disappointing, the end result, especially losing to the Philippines, which really is what cost them. Because that draw last night could have been all the difference. But, you know, Norway went on to put in 6 goals or whatever against the Philippines, which says a fair bit about them. But I mean, if you haven't been able to enjoy it, I think there's something wrong. And when you hold that up against what the other Women's World Cup is at the moment, the netball, where there's only 8 teams even competitive, it's been a fantastic result. So well done all round, I say.
Yeah, except last night, and I was very disappointed when I tuned into that game and I saw people going along there having fun, dressed as Swiss cheeses. I thought the cultural insult, the insult to the heritage of those Swiss people. If the Spanish woman can be made to apologise for doing something with a haka in practice when no one should have been there filming them and have to publicly give a shirt away and do all of that and be made front page news and publicly humiliated because of that, then those people should be tracked down from that stadium, Matt, those that wore the cheeses, and they should be made to apologise to the Swiss for denigrating their culture and heritage.
Oh, yeah, well, it's a massive letdown, isn't it, to see that? But when my wife pointed out the 2 cheeses in the crowd, they looked to me like big yellow squares with potatoes on them. The holes look like potatoes. I thought, what are they, a packet of chips? But apparently they were cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you have to apologise for saying what you think? Anyone that's been to Palmerston North's been bored.
Yeah.
So I don't see why anyone from outside of town, especially coming from Spain, a wonderful country like Spain with a nightlife that people travel all around the world for, an embarrassment that we sent them there. We should be apologising.
Your Matildas tonight have to beat Canada or it's over, mate. You're out of your own World Cup.
Well, they were disappointing in Game 1, disappointing in Game 2. Can we win in Game 3? I'm not sure. I mean, no momentum, no real hope, but Sam Kerr's back, Martin. Will that be all the difference? Can we get a couple of goals? Can we prove to everybody that we deserve to move forward? Look, I wouldn't put money on this one tonight, but, you know, there'll be another massive crowd over there and hopefully they get home. But I'm more excited about the Ashes at the moment because I know that even though the crowd are screaming out boring, 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 and they love their Bazball. Bazball could come back to bite them, Martin, even though they put on 395 in record time, well, maybe not record time, but in excellent time in their second innings, and thought they had it all wrapped up and they'd finish the Ashes series 2-2. They couldn't take a wicket yesterday. Davey Warner on 58 from 99 and Khawaja 69 from 130 balls proves that boring cricket may be able to get us over the line. We've got a day to get, less than 250. Let's hope there's no rain. Last week I was hoping for rain, praying for rain, doing a rain dance. This week I'd just like to see us bat out the day, get the runs in the final over, walk off, raising the bats, asking the crowd, what was that? 3-1? 3-1? 3-1. I think we're going to do this tonight, Marty.
No wah-wahs over the weekend, but a full round of rugby league action nonetheless. Brendan Bradford, CodeSports AU. Movers and shakers on the table, plus the news that Wally Lewis is suffering from CTE, the onset of dementia. You know, the biggest news in league at the moment this weekend, and this is where everything else stops, and you know, you sit there and you pause and you think, what a wonderful player. I've interviewed this bloke. I've met this man. I know who you know that I'm talking about, Wally Lewis. Of course, in a Kangaroo jersey, in a Queensland and a Broncos jersey. I couldn't stomach him. But, you know, just to think what he's put himself through. I remember clearly the epilepsy incident on TV, and that was heartbreaking enough. And to hear the guy's got CTE or advanced dementia or something at this stage, and yeah, man, I mean, you know, we demand our pound of flesh out of these players, don't we? And we want them to harden up and to play hard and do all of that kind of thing. And I just wonder whether or not, you know, whether how many others of his ilk and era are suffering the same way and probably suffering in silence.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to Wally Lewis twice last year. Once in person after first Origin. He was sitting in the Queensland sheds after the Maroons won an upset win, and then I spoke to him on the phone a couple of weeks later for another story, and you could sort of tell just by talking to him and you know, interacting with him that it felt like he'd gone that way. I know, you know, he'd had past health issues, so I didn't know how much it was, but sort of news out this weekend, that he's battling CTE is at the same time heartbreaking, but not all that surprising given what we know about him. And I suppose, like you look back at the era he played in as well, it was almost no holds barred kind of stuff, and you know, he was a target, and he never shied away from the battle, and it kind of puts into perspective or just brings home some of the CBA stuff and some of the NRL, you know, players union stuff about what they're arguing for at the moment. It's a lot to do with this stuff. It's not all tied. You know, people want to say it's all tied to their pay packets, but a lot of it is after football and you know, funds used for players once they retire, and injured players and health benefits and things like that. So it's kind of a timely reminder of all this back and forth and just the stuff going on with the players covering up the NRL logo this week and not speaking to the media. I think it brings into sort of sharp focus what they're actually fighting for, and I think it's a pretty timely reminder as well. Yeah,
Brendan, at the same time, though, I see Valentine Holmes yesterday gets 10 in the bin for a blatant shoulder to the face, and you're sitting there thinking, well, in rugby, that's a red card. You go for a skate, that's 8 weeks. You know, this guy gets put on report, whoop-de-doo. I mean, he might miss a couple of weeks. He gets 10 off the sideline, then he comes back on. You know, you're talking about protecting the players. I just don't know why Rugby League is dragging the chain on this.
Yeah, absolutely. It should have been. I think that's one thing Rugby League can learn from Rugby Union is a shot like that should be off
straight away.
Not that it's, you know, there was nothing malicious in it. Valentine Holmes is a good hard player. He's a fair player and he's a nice guy. But you need to draw a line in the sand, and there will be backlash. I mean, there's still backlash when, you know, for certain red cards in Rugby Union. And that took a couple of years to come in, and players have eventually adjusted. Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, he didn't even got 10 in the bin, and that was a pretty blatant shot to the head as well. Against the Broncos on Thursday, Friday night. They need to, you know, for all the big talk about clamping down and blah blah blah, and you know, there's the big one at the moment is the hip drop tackle, but I mean, they really haven't truly addressed the concussion, the head knocks. They need to start making these things immediate red cards, immediate sort of, longer bans, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, that's when players will start changing their approach, their technique, and just starting to think a little bit more, because all these things also lead into what we were talking about before with Wally Lewis. It's all a snowball kind of a thing. So that is one change. There's not many changes you'd want rugby league to take out of rugby union, but that is one.
Brendan Bradford, CodeSports, you're out of Oz with us, and I'm looking at that points table. Warriors got a bye, so that's very good, which just increases the gap between, you round about your 6, 7s and 8s. Anything from the Rabbits down 26 points in 6th spot, all the way down to the Eels 11th on 24. You could even add the Titans. Maybe they're running out of games. But that log jam now fighting out for those last couple of spots. It's awesome, isn't it? I mean, what it means is that the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, there's going to be something just about on every single game.
Yeah, I mean, the last 10 years even, you look back and there's maybe three teams trying to jam into the last 2 spots. But now we've got literally probably maybe 6 that could go in, drop out. You mentioned the Titans. I reckon Titans are there. They've got momentum. They've had a really good win on the weekend.
Yeah,
22
brilliant. I watched
points.
that. Yeah, watched that game.
They might be running out of time, but it's all about momentum at this time of year. The Dolphins and the Roosters both on 22, but I think the Dolphins are running out of puff and the Roosters are just a basket case this year. But yeah, Titans, Eels, Manly, Knights, Cowboys, Sharks, Rabbitohs, they could all be in, or those teams that are in the top 8 could drop out. And then you look up, you're looking at a first place sort of battle at the top of the table. There's going to be a race for the top 4, and the Warriors are right there. Probably the only thing we've decided, I think, is the wooden spoon. I think the Tigers have locked that up. They're 4 points behind the Dragons with however many games to go, and I don't think they have the easiest run. They don't have the easiest run. I think they've got the Broncos and the Warriors, so I think that the Tigers have locked that up, but everything else, you want to catch every single game.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable! Incredible!
The Platform.